There you go.
Hi, Rich Hoffman here. I'm here with Sheriff Jones. We're going to talk about a couple very interesting, I think, controversial subjects. You have a prisoner in your jail. We're at the great Butler County Jail, and it's this Ayman Soliman.
I just call him, he's an imam or an
Imam.
I don't try to pronounce his name because I wouldn't do it very good justice.
I think it's Ayman Soliman. I always get it wrong. Everybody tells me you're saying
Solomon,
it wrong.
I'll go with what you said.
Solomon. So yeah, he's here in the jail, and I think there's a lot of discussion. This is the guy that was detained by ICE that caused the bridge riots down in Cincinnati, and as that was moving on because he was an employee, I think, at a hospital.
That's what I've been told. He was some kind of a spiritual leader at one of the hospitals in Cincinnati.
And so the distinction between he's in your jail, you're following federal guidelines on ICE detaining.
That's correct.
Which is important. And there's a lot of people lobbying Governor DeWine to get involved and release him. And for the class to understand, when you're following federal law, the governor can't tell you to release this guy.
No, he's a federal prisoner. He cannot. But just so the people know, they went up and they had a protest, lots of protests. I've been having protests for 20 years, maybe 22 years, and I'll get into that as we go. And they were lobbying the governor to release this guy. And I basically made a statement that the governor can't give me orders to release anybody.
You only work for the people.
I work for the people. I get hired and fired every 4 years by the election. It's the only form of law enforcement that is elected. There's 88 counties in Ohio. There's 3,300 counties in the United States. Sheriffs are the highest form of law enforcement there is. We work for the people. I don't work for any special groups. I don't work for the governor. I don't work for the senators or the congressmen. The commissioners give me my budget. The prosecutor, who is my friend, gives me legal advice and opinions, and I listen to him. Only a fool doesn't listen to your attorney. Statutorily, the prosecutor is my attorney.
Right.
And the Solomon guy or the imam, if the governor had given me an order, I said I would not obey that order. He's not my boss. And then somebody asked me, well, wonder if he had the National Guard come down and force you to release that prisoner. I said, that's a big if, but we had made contact with somebody within the administration, lower end, naturally. President's kind of busy. And we would ask the President of the United States at that time to federalize the National Guard, which means he's the boss.
Right.
But it never came to that. I don't know what he'd have done, what he was going to do, but I made it very clear. He's not my boss. The protesters can't demand that I release anyone. They're here as a prisoner in my jail, the Butler County Jail.
And you have to draw a line in the sand, and someone has to defend that line, and you're doing that, which is why we're talking. It's a very important distinction. I think a lot of people get confused about states' rights, federal law, how they all correspond. Sure. That the governor is the last line of defense, and that's not true. It's your local sheriff that you elect, and he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. And I think a little background on this guy, it's not for us to determine here innocence or guilt or any of that.
Nope,
that's the courts.
It's not.
It's to make sure that you're following federal law, and at the federal level, he was determined to be a risk. He was on a terror watch list.
That's correct.
And whether that's fair or not, you're not against protesters, you're not against just, people voicing their opinions, but you have to trust the system that you put in place. He's on a federal watch list. He tried to apply for a job at a jail in Oregon, and that's how he did an FBI background, and they traced it back to the Muslim Brotherhood. That's none of us doing that. That's not your doing.
Nope.
That's not the governor's doing. That's
Nope.
him trying to get a job at a jail, and he didn't pass the background test, and he got flagged. And so that's how he ended up in the situation he's in. And once that was known, you have protesters who don't agree with that system for some reason that are trying to cause a ruckus. And they went to lobby the governor to interfere with what you're trying to do.
That's correct. Same group has been lobbying. We had 500 protesters here. We're lobbying in his behalf, and they were lobbying in the behalf of an 18-year-old we had in the jail. There was a soccer player or whatever, and they would come and protest also. Just so your viewers know, we've had protesters here at the jail since I've been sheriff, 22 years.
Long time.
I was the first one to send a flag up in this county on immigration. And when I did it the first time, 22 years ago, they labeled me as a racist, a bigot, no sympathy, no heart, and this would be my last term. And you know how many Republicans came to my support? Zero.
Really? No
None.
Republicans?
22 years ago. Think about it. Everything was different.
Okay, 22 years ago.
22 years ago. No, the Journal News here in Hamilton, the newspaper used to do endorsements. And you would go to the Journal News, they would either endorse you or not endorse you. I was a Republican sheriff like I am now. Basically, everybody else would go in for their little interview, 20, 30 minutes at the most. Not mine. Mine was 3 hours. I had to come out, take a pee, go back in, get a drink of water, and when I was done, they endorsed me. But it was one of these like, they had no choice. It was a backhanded endorsement, and they told me that I would get less votes and that I would go down in my votes. But here's the difference in most sheriffs. If you're a good sheriff, I listen to the people. I go out, I go to the mom and pop restaurants, I talk to people. A wise man told me once, don't listen to the courthouse crowd. All they do is repeat the same rumors, the same stuff. You got to get out from that group. And the courthouse crowd, nobody was coming. I'm with Sheriff Jones. They were protesters up on High Street. They were at the jail, and they were kicking my ass in media, local, national media, and no one came to my defense. That election, I got more votes than I got the first time. But if you listen to the courthouse crowd, I don't care what you're dealing with, you deal in this stuff. People that only talk to each other and they're around each other, the elected people sometimes, they feed off each other. But you gotta get out of your little offices and you gotta get out in the community and talk to people. I walk down the street. Sometimes I'll go over here in a neighborhood. It's a tough neighborhood. It's both Latino, African American, and Appalachian. Those three mixtures sometimes don't work well together.
Yeah.
I get out and I'll just walk from my office and walk down the street. Scares the hell out of my employees.
I bet.
Because I don't take people with me, but pretty soon I'll see a sheriff's car going down the alley. I go up on people's porches. I stop at yard sales. I talk to regular people. If somebody has a beautiful yard here in these three mixtures of citizens that live here close to the jail, I'll get out and I'll say, hey, you got a nice looking yard. And I mean that. And they take care of their yard, they take pride in it. And I go back in my jail. I talk to people, I talk to the prisoners. And I see them when they get out. And I wish them all well. I don't want them to come back. But sheriffs are very unique. It's the first form of law enforcement, came over with the colonies. George Washington's grandfather was a sheriff. They called him sheriffs. Sheriffs came from England. And if you remember, Nottingham Forest, if I'm saying it correctly, there was a sheriff in that. And sheriffs came here, they collected taxes, but in the colonies, the first form they done was sheriff. George Washington's father was a sheriff in one of the colonies. So, and you get elected every 4 years.
And you're on your fifth term.
Sixth term.
Sixth term.
And my wife doesn't want me home, so I work. And I've been married 100 years, maybe 500 years, to the same person. It's not all been good, and my wife sitting here, she would tell you the same. It's not easy being married to me, but I do enjoy my job. I say what I think. I don't make everybody happy, but if you ask me for my opinion, which you have, and we don't always agree, but hell, I've been married 49 years and I don't agree with my wife.
That's right.
So, and the greatest thing about living in this country, you can have an opinion. Hell, I've protested before in my life. I've marched on the Capitol, mostly for more wages, but I've done all those things. And it's right here in Butler County, Ohio, of 88 counties. Your jail holds 340 ICE prisoners. Those are prisoners that are brought in by ICE. And we hold 200 Marshal prisoners. Those are federal prisoners.
Yeah. It's a nice jail.
Oh,
I mean, this is a Butler County state-of-the-art jail. Lots of great facilities, and it's not exactly slumming it.
No.
It's not amenities heavy, but it's a very good secure jail.
We get inspected by the feds. We get inspected by the states. The health department comes in. Is it a place that I'd want to sleep? Only if I was going to have to choose between jails. I've had some pretty well-known people here. I had the Speaker of the House, Householder, was in my jail as a federal prisoner. The GOP chairman of the state Republican Party, I forget his name, Bert Borges. Yeah, he was in my jail. They celled across from each other. Very powerful people. I've had elected people. I've had policemen. I've had government personnel in this jail. We house 1,100 inmates. The ICE prisoners, they're illegal aliens. That's the legal term. It offends people sometimes, but that's the legal term. But what I'm telling you is, the sheriff, a constitutional sheriff, is very important, and I obey the state constitution. I was sworn in by the state and the federal constitution of the United States. And if you got somebody that stands up, which I do, and my party doesn't always agree with me, and when I went for the endorsement for the Republican Party, I didn't go for the endorsement. I didn't feel that I needed to go for that. Not that I'm arrogant or a pompous ass. You make people angry in your own party sometime, and you get before 300 of them, they might not like everything I do. And they get a chance to throw rocks at you and stuff. That they can vote against me, and that's okay. But I love my job. I'm very fortunate, and I hire smart people. I pay them well, and I let them work. And the people that surround me, they're not yes people. If they're yes people, they cannot work for me. I want somebody, if you're one of my subordinates and I ask you a question, you have to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. I don't need my ego pumped up. It's already pumped up enough, I promise you.
Well, that's a good distinction, because it's important for everybody to understand. You do these media things and you never get enough time. You do a lot of stuff on WLW and you get your 15-minute segment, and it's never quite enough to get the story out.
Sure.
And that's why now? Why this guy and ICE is executing law enforcement? These laws were always there, and this guy existed in the background for a long time. But the Biden administration chose not to enforce those laws, and now the Trump administration is, and you're there for law enforcement. And we talked about the jail. You could eat off the floor, but you wouldn't want to. You shouldn't want to do that, but you could, because it's clean. The amenities are good for prisoners' lifestyle. They may not get to see outside too much, but at least it's not the worst place in the world. And you can imagine why he'd want to stay in the United States, because once you leave the states, it's probably not going to be the Butler County Jail where those people go.
No.
So no wonder they don't want to leave.
Hey, listen, I've had people try to come back in. When I worked in the prison system, I've had them cry.
Knocking on the door to get back in.
Hey, climb the fence.
Life's scary out there.
Hey, it's scary. You get 3 hots and a cot. What that means is you get 3 meals and you get a place to sleep. If you want to have biscuits and gravy or something else, stay out of jail. This is jail food that's approved by a dietitian. I want to tell everybody this. When you hear that inmates are placed in the hole, it's not a hole. It's basically the same cell they're in, or in another cell. They just don't get all the food that they are used to getting, the regular food. If you get in trouble in this jail, you get what's called the warden burger. And you get that 3 times a day.
I've had that.
You have.
I've had that.
Listen,
in fact, when you took me on a tour, I've had that burger.
Hey, 3 times a day, and you get all the water you can drink. Hey, and it's got a lot of fiber in it. You might use a little more toilet paper than not. But look, don't get in trouble here. The imam, he got in trouble. He wouldn't obey the orders that he was given He wanted to have a special group meet in this room. They told him he couldn't. And the officer come over, told him he couldn't do that. And he said, do you know who I am? And my officer said, yeah.
He did that here?
Oh, yeah, he did. It didn't work out real good for him.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
No, I didn't think it was. But he thought he was more powerful than he was. And the officer said, yeah, I know who you are. You're inmate so-and-so. Then 3 of them come over and escort him back in facility. And he got in what's called a disciplinary action. But that happens. He doesn't do that anymore. And look, this isn't boys camp or girls camp to where you go camping and we put a chocolate on your pillow every night before you go night-night. You're gonna be in a jail. It's air conditioned because I have to. The inmates complain it's too cold. They each have a color TV in their cell. And I know people are gonna say, why the hell would they have a color TV? That's ridiculous. Best babysitter in the world.
Yeah.
When they're watching TV, they only get to watch the channels I like.
It's about,
Yeah, and it's made of clear plastic, so they can't hide anything in it, contraband. And we pay for that out of the commissary profit that they buy commissary from, and it's marked up enough to where we can buy them TVs and keeps them in their cell watching TV. They're not out fighting or trying to stab each other, and it's very well run. But I still have 1,100 prisoners here. I have close to 600 contract prisoners. And it's still jail. And we run it smoothly as we run it like a business. But if you come here to protest and you chain yourselves to the door, which they've done, the media calls me and says, will they get arrested? I said, they've come to the right place. And they do get arrested. 500 protesters out here on the road, they were good until they weren't. One of them thought they'd be good to block the road. That didn't work real well for her. She went to jail. And then the rest of them complied and they dispersed. We've always had protesters. They go to the commissioner's office and they protest my stance on immigration. And the media calls me and says, they're disparaging your name. And I said, get out of here. And do you want to respond? And I say, yes. And I'm going to use a word on your podcast here. But you decide if you keep it in. But they're disparaging your name. What do you want to respond to them and say? I say, I don't give 10 shits what they say. There I use that word. And I don't. I don't try to change their mind. My job is not to make law. My job is to enforce the law. The courts and the representatives that we elect can make law. And the judges aren't, their job is to hear the case and make a decision on the law. If it goes to the Supreme Court, fine. People are so hateful and mean now. Little old ladies, little old men that weren't mean and nasty. They feel that if you don't listen to their opinion, you're no good and rotten. They'll hate you. They'll disrespect you. But if you come here and you stand in front of a car, these people in this county probably run over you.
Can't block the cars.
Yeah, if you spit on one of my deputies, you'll go to jail. But you might go to the hospital first. Okay,
yeah, justified.
If you throw bricks at us, that's deadly force. We can return the love. If you come at us with a knife, we will shoot you. We'll ask you to drop it, but not very long. And those are the things that you see all over the country. We were talking before we went on air. The protests they had in Cincinnati, where they were blocking the streets, which they do all the time, and they allow that to go on. They made a terrible mistake, those protesters. They crossed the bridge and went to Kentucky, and the police there don't play that game.
Good on them.
And they thought they could block traffic and they could assault police officers. It didn't work real good in Kentucky.
No, not at all.
A few of them went to jail, and a few of them had a little force used on them.
That surprised me, and that's how this case has evolved. I think it started back in June when ICE picked him up.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about these immigration issues a long time, 20 years at least.
Yes.
And we've been aligned on it leading up to Trump, the Trump administration coming back in to the administration, back into the White House. We were hoping for immigration reform because the Biden administration wasn't doing anything, weren't enforcing laws, and we wanted to see that happen. And leading up to it, President Trump was making statements about being hard on terrorists, being hard on drug dealers. We've talked about the drug networks that come into Butler County. A lot of people don't realize it, but these neighborhoods that you're talking about, they comes in from it's like an ant colony. Every time you turn around, they're coming in, and what can you do about it?
Yeah.
And you've been begging for an opportunity to enforce the law and keep that from happening forever. And now here it is.
Listen, I am in for it. I have 10 deputies that have been certified, trained by the federal government. They're not ICE agents, but we can stop people that are committing crimes already, and we can ascertain if they're here illegally or not. At that point, we make contact with ICE, and it's 24/7. That this is all they deal with, and if they're here illegally, they'll put a charge on them, and our deputies will transport them to jail. ICE has the charges. We've arrested probably 15 just in the past 10 days. We're the only law enforcement agency in the state of Ohio, and there's not a lot of them in the United States. And we're going to put 10 more through this training.
And that's important. And when I think of strong sheriffs, I think of like Sheriff Aparo from Arizona.
Yes. Yeah.
People who have really held the ground. You're certainly one of them. The Butler County Jail, there's a reason why all those people come here. There's a reason why there's federal contracts. And the reason we talked about this jail being good compared to other jails is because it's something that Butler County should be very proud of. And you have to run this, and it's not easy. Even if you're talking about that hamburger, it's not like going to McDonald's and getting a hamburger. It's tough. It's not delicious.
No,
but it's healthy.
It's made of a lot of vegetables. It looks like meatloaf. It looks like fruitcake, but tastes like neither.
Yeah.
Don't get in trouble. But it's approved by a dietitian, and we do things right here. And when the prisoners leave, we always tell them, don't come back, we don't want you back. We've had 3 babies born back there in our jail. This is not a place to have a baby. But the judges put them here to try to save the baby. The mothers are addicted to drugs. Contrary to what people think, we've not had any male inmates have babies here. Even though you might be told that can happen, that's not happened here. But we have pregnant prisoners here, often all females, I promise. And some of them have their babies here. 3 of them have. They've all lived. The babies are born addicted to drugs. And that's nothing compared to what the hospitals have born here. And most of them are the drugs that are coming into your community. People think that the president has secured the southern border. There's no doubt. It's
much better than it was.
Much better.
He says 0, but zero is another layer.
Yeah, it's not 100%. But where it's not secure is the Canadian border.
That's right.
And that's the northern border. I believe it's 3,000 miles of territory. Can't be secured. You got to have Canada help with that. Ohio, I believe, is connected by bridge or by water to Canada. And the drugs, it's like a giant balloon. You squeeze it over here, slow immigration down here. Over here, it's wide open. They come in from over 100 different countries. I believe there's like 136 different countries. But people would be surprised how many countries they are. So what they do, the drug cartel, which the president just sunk a ship the other day and blowed it up, and it was a drug cartel. He means business. But 76% of all the illegal drugs in the world come to the United States. Where I went to school, that's almost 80%. Until we deal with our drug issue, the reason they come here is because we're the community that has money. We buy these drugs. And it's not going to dry up. We can slow it down. They're going to find ways to get it in. So nobody talks about that issue. How can we get people to cut this drug stuff back? It's going to come, but it's pouring in through the northern border. People are being smuggled in. I've been to the border 3 times. I'm on the National Border Committee with sheriffs. It's not done, folks. 20 million to 30 million, depending on who you listen to, are here. In the last, I believe 6 months, 350 terrorists, they believe, have came in across the border. That's from the federal government.
We're talking about the southern border now, but they go across the lakes.
We're talking about the northern border.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. 350, and 200 of them have came through the northern border because it's harder to get there. And when you go to this northern border, hell, we're there every day. Every state is a border state. And if you don't believe it, good for you.
Right.
But we're all border states. How does these drugs come in? How does it affect you living out in the heartland somewhere? How it affects you is if you're out, you're driving your car, somebody's high on drugs, and they hit you head on, they kill you. You're somewhere, a robbery takes down. It affects all of us. People that are coming here for a better life. I'm good with that. 1.2 million come legally to this country every year. You shouldn't allow 10 to 15 million to just sneak in. And I equate that with you're sitting at your house in the middle of the night and all of a sudden door opens, somebody comes in, sits down in your chair, goes to the refrigerator, drinks a soft drink, gets a sandwich. You didn't let them in. They're not allowed to come to your house. You can't come to this country illegally and think it's okay. And there's a large portion of people in our country that feel that's okay. And we've arrested probably 3 illegals in the past 30 days that are sexual predators. 3 in this county. And I've had them where they've been killed. I had one guy that was arrested 8 times in the Butler County Jail. Been deported 8 times in the Butler County Jail. Finally killed somebody. That person would have been alive. And I could go on and on and on. But long answer for the question, we worked with the government. Under Biden, it was not so good. I got rid of all the ICE. I done away with all the contracts under Biden because they were looking for a way to embarrass me and fire me. I fired them first because I knew it was coming. When President Trump got elected, 3 weeks, we were sending information to them that we want to help participate to get these people not only out of our county, but out of this country, get them back to where they came from. And we should all be concerned with that. Your fruit price isn't going to go up. Your vegetable price isn't going to go up. But listen, we've had people picking fruit and working in the farm or the chicken industry since beginning of time in the United States. But they would come in on work visas, then they'd leave. But these people that own these businesses want to bring them in. They want them to stay here because you can get on welfare. They'll help get you on welfare. They'll get you all the extra stuff you need. And then those workers work for less. And you know who pays for all that? That's us. You and me.
Us, that's right.
But you can't come here illegally. 1.2 million come here legally every year. That system's screwed up. We should have more coming in. There's 150 different visas. If you laid them all on the table, we couldn't tell a good one from a bad one.
Nope.
Too many visas. There should be 5. They should be either labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or different colors. It's all got out of control, and they fight the President of the United States on everything. You go to DC now, it's, hey, no carjackings, no homicides. It's all, the National Guard shouldn't have to do this. They're cleaning the streets. They're taking graffiti. It's called the broken window scenario. You clean the neighborhoods up, and people take pride in it. One thing that I agree with Al Sharpton on, this will probably shock you.
Do you agree with him?
On one thing, I do. The last things people need in poor neighborhoods is less police. Al Sharpton said that, and he's correct. And these neighborhoods, to where poor people have no choice, they're afraid to come out, and a lot of times it's poor white people, poor black people, poor Latino people, and they can't speak up. And you see all these white people on TV that live in gated neighborhoods saying we don't need more police. Well, they don't, because they live in gated neighborhoods. They have drivers driving, and it's so stupid and ridiculous. Chicago, New York City, but they elect those people in those communities. But DC is the capital, and it was the murder capital of the world. No matter what, the governor or the mayor of New York City or whatever that's called, because she's with him now. She said the president, and a week before,
Maureen Bowser.
Oh yeah, she supports him.
Yep.
You know why? People in her that vote for her said We want more police.
She was the one who supported the Black Lives Matter mural that was on 16th Street in front of the White House, and she was all about it and left it stay there all these years, and then now she's starting to see
the people in those communities need the police the most. Not the people you see on TV, the TV anchors and the TV. Those aren't rich people. They live in different neighborhoods. Their kids don't go to the same schools. These people, their kids go to schools with metal detectors, and it's got to be fixed. But those people in those neighborhoods need police. And the National Guard. Why wouldn't you? But you can't say it too loud. You'll get killed.
Well, that's why I think it's important to talk about your stance here and people's perception of it, what President Trump has done in D.C., federalizing that, the debate on what do you want federalized police, because the attack has been to attack law enforcement. In the same way that the protesters would come here and try to put pressure on you for this particular prisoner. Well, ICE is doing this most dangerous first, roundup. And this guy's on a watch list, and he looks like an innocent guy, and he might be.
Sure.
But you see little behavioral traits like what you talked about here in the prison, where it's like, hey, do you know who I am? I'm an important person. Yeah. I deserve different treatment.
Yes.
That kind of behavior starts inspiring all those people laying out in front of the road trying to block traffic.
Yeah.
And then you take the heat because you're just enforcing law. Yes. There's a reason why he's on the first ICE list to round up.
Listen, and there's more to come. We just had a joint operation in Fairfield 2 weeks ago. Us, Fairfield, the Sheriff's Office, and ICE, and Homeland Security arrested 40 people at a bar in Fairfield that they had issues with. All illegals. And probably could have arrested 200. Sent a hell of a message there, and we're not done. This is just the beginning.
I saw your thing on that. That was, I thought, pretty good police work.
Hey, you haven't seen anything yet. And I tell people, President Trump, they're hiring ICE agents, all they can get. They're encouraging law enforcement to be involved. In this last election, 78% of Americans, I want to repeat that, 78%, Democrat and Republican, want something done with that border. Yep. 78%. Yep. White, black, it doesn't matter. I have African Americans and white people come up to me, Latinos, get this fixed. Everybody in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, 100 years ago when I took college classes, I think there's like 7 or 10 of them. Air, food, water, safety is right up in the top 4.
Yep, and you when you talk about Butler County being very prosperous,
yes.
And I'm not trying to blow your ego up.
No,
on this,
you don't have to.
But good police work. Good police work has given this community the opportunity to thrive, and be on your 6th term. That you have a lot to do with that because the police in Butler County are good.
Yes,
really good.
We're fortunate. The courts are. The prosecution is. Yeah, it's a team effort. If we arrest and the prosecutor doesn't prosecute, or the judges turn them all loose, you got like these sanctuary cities. And then where all the crime is, you got nothing. It's a team effort. You gotta have safety and security. That's in the hierarchy of needs. It's right in the top 4. And food, water, safety. If you're not, and your kids, everybody wants their kids to go to good schools. They want to give them a fighting chance. But if your kids are being recruited by drug dealers, gang dealers, they can't get out of where they're at, why wouldn't they? And President Trump doesn't care what those people say as far as in the top that live in the gated community. He's a very wealthy man, but he represents us. And he represents the poor and the downtrodden and the working class. And the Democrat Party always used to say they supported the working class. They got away from that. They support strange stuff, weird stuff.
It's weird stuff.
It's weird stuff. And,
not what it used to be.
No, men and women. There's no in between, but they'll lead you to believe there is. And different groups, different kids, weird stuff. And the people that the Democrats, the voters, and the people in the community, they don't support that stuff. They, like I told you, everybody wants to make a good wage. They want their kids to go to school. They don't want to have to fight that the teachers are teaching my kids that it's okay to be transgender and sneak and get operations done and not tell your parents, or what the curriculum is in school. Shame on you if you're a parent and you question that. The school board should be able to determine that, because you're too stupid to make your own decision for your kids. So they teach your kids not to support that. And they teach your kids to tell on the parents. It starts in the colleges. Jesus. The colleges, terrible, terrible place to go. And for the parents that pay for Harvard and Yale, and then they hate Jewish people, and the professors, and it's out of control, but that's the future. And the United States is to a point where they're getting the pitchforks out, I believe. A wise man told me there'll come a point where they'll have enough. The taxes are too high, and the way they want to decide what you can do. During the pandemic, I was approached that I'm going to have to enforce masks being worn.
Remember that.
And if you don't...
And you were really good on that.
They wanted me to go close these places down, ask the sheriff, and enforce the mask mandate. I had a press conference, and I said, I am not the mask police, nor will I enforce masks being worn. And as far as shots go, that's up to the individuals. I got COVID, and when I first got it, I had to stay home 14 days with my wife. I thought she was going to kill me.
She's probably going to kill you.
Yeah, and she told me if
you need to go back to work.
And she told me if she caught COVID, she was going to kill me anyway. And we both had to stay home and couldn't go anywhere. And then after I had COVID, they kept getting on me to get the shot. And I said, well, I'm immune to it now. I've had COVID. And they said, well, how do you know you're immune to it? I said, I went to the Mayo Clinic and was tested. They said, you went to the Mayo Clinic? I said, sort of. It was a little clinic in Kroger's. And for $10, they checked my finger and said, you're good. So there you go. Now, I had 3 employees die from that, healthy males. It was no joke. But you can't trust the government, which we learned and are learning every day. They lie, they cheat. And when this happens again sometime, people aren't going to go for it.
So we're talking about trust.
Yes.
And whether you've established trust or not, which I think you have, and the importance of the political pressure to have a controversial prisoner that ICE determined was very dangerous,
yes,
or at least to a third tier danger.
Yes.
And you have to hold the line. And that federal laws and state laws and the same group we're talking about, the best thing to say about the protesters I saw in front of your jail is that they're kind of weird. They're kind of, Democrats that are the new Democrat Party, the protesters on the bridge. They're looking for disruptive elements, and they lobby hoping that they can force your hand, and that you are really the barrier that keeps the pitchforks from coming out, because at least people know they can trust the law at a certain place.
In this community, you can. And they get to hire me every 4 years. Only form of law enforcement that's not appointed by your mayors, like in the big cities.
Yep.
The mayor appoints a city manager,
Yep.
and then they pick somebody that thinks like and similar to them, like Cincinnati, like Dayton, like all these, Chicago, all these big cities. They pick the police departments. And when you see things happening, and you see the police chiefs there, and when they're making their little press conference, you just shake your head. And I could fix Cincinnati in probably 6 weeks.
You probably could.
I know.
And you're seeing how the federalizing the police has fixed Washington, D.C., the
Yes.
debate about Chicago. We know how to do it.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
You got to have the guts to do it. And I love where I was born and went to schools here. I wasn't at the top of my class. I graduated at the bottom. I maintain a C so I could play sports. Back then you had to have a C.
Yeah.
But I joined the military, got out of the military, went to college, got my associate's degree, got my bachelor's degree, got my master's degree from Xavier, co-authored a book entitled Behind Bars. I'm working on another book right now. and I say y'all and howdy, and I have more education than my teachers had. And so, high school, you're trying to determine what you're going to be in life. My generation, the males, when you graduated, you went to Vietnam. I didn't go to Vietnam. Vietnam was still going on. I had two brothers. One went in, one came back. Then it was my turn. I volunteered for the draft. Vietnam was falling. But I determined at that point, I wanted to be more than just somebody working in a factory. You got factory jobs here, you got married, you had a kid or kids, maybe you could buy a boat or a camper, that was it. But I always wanted to be the sheriff. And not everybody can be the sheriff. I was very fortunate. I worked for the previous sheriff for 12 years. I worked at the prison 17. I was the major at Lebanon Correctional Institution, went to school at night, got my college degrees, lived in a house in front of the prison. Sheriff got elected. He brought me in as his number 2 guy. He stayed 12 years. The rest is history.
Well, I think it shows, and it's probably good that you're writing books and that you've done this and come this far, and you're in your 6th term and probably 7 or 8 if you can.
Yes.
And that you like it, but there's a reason why you're a piece of this history, and that this prisoner is at this jail, and this jail, as opposed to any place else in the country right now or in the world, is the centerpiece of this debate. And I think you're doing a really good job on it. And I appreciate the fact that you stood up to the pressure of the protesters going to DeWine, just as you did during COVID. And in a lot of ways, it's created a law enforcement that people can trust. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I think it's a good place to put a pin in it, because we could go on all day probably. I know if I turn you loose, you could just probably talk till...
You could tell I like to talk.
That's okay.
And I do. Got me a lot of trouble in junior high school. I spent a little time in detention.
But you've turned it into something good, and I think Butler County is far better for it.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody that's watching this today. Stay tuned. This is just the beginning. It's not the end.
Should be a lot of fun. I think things are a lot better now than they were maybe 6 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 years ago.
Much better.
So there's Rich Hoffman here, Sheriff Jones, and a lot of good information, and it should be a quick moving story. And like he says, there's a lot more to come. So see you later.
Thank you again.